In our media product, we have used the action thriller genre. We used the conventions from the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith. We took most of our inspiration from Mr. and Mrs. Smith. This has been shown through the plot of our media product, as the narrative code conveys the conventions of action, as we used a close-up shot on the female protagonist picking up the knife. This is similar to a shot used in Mr. and Mrs. Smith when Angelina Jolie picks up her knife. Both the real and the media product use this shot, therefore we believe this shot is a key convention of action genre. It highlights the weapon. We also had to develop our idea as we used conventions of thriller, as we used a Dutch angle shot when the antagonist walks into the room where the protagonist is being held captive. The shot we use establishes the intense atmosphere as it shows weapons such as knives and torture tools. This was inspired by Saw. Furthermore, the soundtrack we used created tension as it creates the build-up when the antagonist is walking to the room. We decided to do this as we thought this would best fit our genre.
Our media product represents the social group of secret agents. This was done by two main actor and actresses who were both protagonist-type hitmen that were married. We were restricted with availability of actors, therefore I stepped in to play the female role. We all still agreed that the social group was clear in the movie opening. For example, our male protagonist comes across relaxed and is comfortable with what he gets himself into. We would normally see this in a James Bond movie, just like Skyfall, where the protagonist is calm, collective, also smartly dressed, and has got some type of charm. Our female protagonist was dressed in black with red lipstick. This was to connote an in-control woman who is just as strong as her male companion. We set the female protagonist up with a script and an outfit that we would normally see in a film like Salt, where the female protagonist is strong, brave, and does not need to rely on no other but herself. The costume for both characters fit the dress code of the two film stars and their attire. The weapon used and shown to connote the highlight the danger and intensity of the scene and relays back to the social group of hitmen. This is successful in the way action movies generally have the same feel, and also secret agents portray danger and riskiness, and this was conveyed by the escape scene of the male protagonist and also the knife scene of the female protagonist.
I see a very high-profile institution such as Summit distributing our film rather than a small media institution like Film 4 due to their inability to handle the high costs that would accompany high-budget films such as ours. Also, the fact that Summit was responsible for high-budget blockbusters such as Twilight suggests to me that they will have a field day distributing our media product. This is supported by the fact that Mr. and Mrs. Smith, a movie that we drew a large amount of inspiration from, enjoyed large-scale economic and commercial success, and Summit played a huge role in this. I feel like the success this film enjoyed can be replicated with our own media product, considering it is similar in many ways, including genre, and employs many conventions seen in films like Skyfall.
The audience for our film would be people between the age of 13 to 20. The reason why our audience would be mass, as both male and female have been used as main characters. This would attract male and female audiences, as women will see the idea of powerful women in our media product, which is not usually shown in other films. This then creates an escapist attitude, and from our research, we found that these types of films attract mass audiences. The mode of address we used in our film and in our media product was to have enigma codes, as this would engage the audience, as it would create curiosity amongst the consumers. As we establish the main characters and we also hint at what the main plot is of the film, this has been done by showing that both husband and wife are after the same antagonist, even when they have no idea of each other.
We attracted our audience by different codes and conventions we chose to use. We made sure that this would intrigue our audience in an interesting, gripping way. Firstly, we used our audience feedback on a questionnaire we produced by asking which type of film opening do people prefer. This was between straight to the point, build tension, or one that requires you to think. The most popular was building tension. Therefore, we did this by including dramatic irony towards the audience by showing a dark secret being kept between the married couple. It also gives the audience a feel of escapism, which is popular for our target audience of adolescent males. Another way we intrigued our audience was through a mise en scène throughout the whole of the film opening. For example, the lighting that took place in some scenes and also the colour change filters was to give a mysterious feel and to keep audiences interested. Audience also were attracted through the non-diegetic soundtrack throughout the film opening. For example, when the scene would get intense, the soundtrack would build up a lot faster, and the soundtracks was chosen especially to convey our movie genre, which was action.
For our film, we used a Nikon 1 S2 14.2 megapixel digital camera with CMOS sensor and an autofocus system, which meant each piece of footage was taken with precision. The large LCD at the back of the camera meant that replaying our filmed footage on the camera was that much easier. This was convenient because it meant we could check for mistakes before uploading any footage onto the computer. We used a 10 to 30 millimeter f3.5 to 5.6 lens due to its high quality, and we managed to get much better focus pulls than we would with any other camera that we had available to us. We also used a tripod, which allowed us to keep our shots steady and professional, while we also managed to capture superior panning shots using this equipment. The only setback that we faced was that the camera was very weak in low lighting, as evidenced by our first go-around. We overcame this by using our phones as a form of secondary lighting. To edit our film, we used Final Cut Pro to add credits, transitions, and to watermark certain parts of our film. We also enhanced the sound where we felt that it was too quiet or muffled. Final Cut was very useful in putting our shots in chronological order, and this helped us maintain a level of continuity to avoid any errors. We also used a royalty-free website for the soundtrack and also got our phone ringing sound effect for this.
Our final product was completely different to our preliminary task. We saw that our preliminary task contained a very simple shot reverse shot. For our film opening, we decided to put in much more creative shots which contained much more movement and were quickly alternating. This was to not bore the audience with the simple shots. We did this by focus pull in the beginning, following along with the walking scene from the protagonist. We also included shots like high angle and a Dutch angle. We realised in our preliminary task that there was a lack of continuity in the dialogue. We made sure this mistake did not occur again. To ensure the continuity was strong and the film opening flowed, we included a soundtrack and also transitions between scenes such as fades and dissolves. We also took more time to research costume and props to fit our genre, hence the knife and the black outfits that were worn.